That is hardcore.
This is hardcore shit.
But for me, it gets harder and harder to resist.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Hardcore Horror with Mike and Brigitte. Brigitte, are you there?
Yes, I am here. What's up, Mike?
What? Okay, we have a show tonight. Let me see. What is our? We have a guest tonight. Tell me who we got.
Oh my gosh, we're so excited. Susan Lanier.
Susan
Love
Lanier,
her.
yeah.
Scream queen. She's mostly famous for The Hills Have Eyes. But
The Hills Have Eyes, man. If you haven't seen that movie,
yes,
go watch
the
it
original.
right now. Yeah,
The
Go watch
original.
it right now.
Yes.
And that movie, we do hardcore horror here. That one's a hardcore horror film, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I would say it is for sure. Wes Craven, man. Wow, what can you say about that guy? I mean, not everything that he did was gold, but look at all the ones that were.
Man, I'm telling you what, and what I love about Wes Craven is all the things he does. Like his stories are so different from anything that you've seen. And I was just looking. Full Moon Cineplex is going to play The Serpent and the Rainbow, and I feel like it's so underrated. But oh my god, I was like, I'd love to see that on a theater screen. So
he does have a lot. I mean, he does have a lot of films like that are just underrated. But then, the big four, obviously, I would say Last House on the Left, Hills Have Eyes, Nightmare on Elm Street, and Scream probably. We're probably the big four, right?
Yeah.
But then, you got People Under the Stairs.
God, that's one of my all-time favorites. I've seen that movie so many times. I love it.
So many good ones. So, we'll talk to her and see what all she has to say about The Hills Have Eyes and other projects that she's doing as well. Before we get to that, let's talk about a couple of things. So last week we talked about some upcoming horror movies for Halloween. Halloween being the cinema time that everybody is watching horror movies, right? There's a lot of those. We didn't even really touch the surface of those, but there's also a lot of Halloween TV shows coming out. Do you know about any of these? And are you going to watch any? Are you excited about any of this stuff? Let's just run through a few of them. See what you think about it. Okay. So obviously the first one is season 12 of American Horror Story. First episode of that just dropped recently. Are you a fan of that series? Are you over it? Did you ever...
So I think at some point I kind of got over it. I want to say that I watched like the first 5 seasons like religiously.
Okay.
And then they just kind of started getting like too far out there for me, and I just lost interest after a while. What about you? Is this something we've never taled about that before? We never talked about American Horror Story. Yeah.
I can agree with it. The first few seasons were the best for sure. There were some really, really good ones there. I watched every single episode of it. It's definitely been downhill for me personally the last few seasons. There's a few shining moments there. Hotel, if you watch that one with Lady Gaga, that one was really good. And there's been a few that have been really good, but yeah, it's kind of getting hit or miss. I think this new one is delicate. It's delicate. It's based off of a novel. I watched the first episode. I mean, it just sort of gives me like Rosemary's Baby vibes. I'm not sure where it's going to go with it. We'll see what happens. But now they even have Kim Kardashian in it and stuff like that. So it's almost becoming a little bit
that's
meta, It's
yeah. I didn't even know that Kim Kardashian was in. I'm like, you kind of ruined it for me right there.
yeah. So, I mean, I will see how it goes. I will watch it for a while, but it's one of those shows that I would not be sad if they said this is the last season. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think, some shows, they really just wear their welcome out. And, like as much as I love Supernatural, I didn't finish all the seasons. There was just so many of them. And there's certain ones like that. And there's certain ones, that I did finish, but kind of begrudgingly. So, that's one of those that's just kind of, I'll watch it for now. But there's that. There's also The Fall of the House of Usher. That one's coming out from Mike Flanagan. Mike Flanagan? Guy who did the House on Haunted Hill and all that. A lot of great series, Midnight Mass and all that. I really enjoyed most of everything he's done, to be honest. I'm looking forward to this one. I think it should be a good. It looks like he's intertwining a lot of Edgar Allan Poe's stories and stuff, and making them kind of inside the story of the House of Usher. So I'll watch this one. It's going to be on Netflix, I think.
Yeah, I did see the trailer for that one, and I do remember saying, it's hard for me to watch a show because you have to dedicate that time. It's not like, hey, I can just watch a 2-hour feature film. Like
Right.
if you have to invest in a show that you're going to watch.
Yeah.
But I did see the trailer for it, and I was like, you know what? I think I would actually watch that one.
Yeah, I love the Haunting the Hill House. I just think it's a great show, man. I think you did great with that. So I am looking forward to that one. There's an updated version of Goosebumps that's coming out. I think that one's on Hulu. There's American Horror Stories, which is like a spinoff of American Horror Story. It's kind of just a few little episode anthology thing, not really connected stories there. That's there's some kind of animated thing called Fright Crew. Something called Living for the Dead on Shudder. The new season of Dragula. That's the Boulet brothers. If you like that sort of stuff, Chucky's got season 3 coming out. Here's one that I thought was interesting. John Carpenter's Suburban Screams. Have you heard about this one?
I don't think so. Where's this streaming out?
I want to say it's going to be Peacock, but I could be wrong. So this is it's John Carpenter, right? And but it's some kind of like horror based, but like almost reality thing, because it's like these people are telling real life horrific stories, and like I guess they're kind of like doing horror versions of it. I don't know. It's Carpenter, so I'm gonna check it out.
What'd you say it was called? John Carpenter's. What is it called?
It's called John Carpenter's Suburban Screams.
Suburban Screams. Okay.
Yeah, and that one's coming out pretty soon. Of course, The Walking Dead, they're still doing spinoffs. Daryl Dixon, I think, just started. I haven't seen any of that yet. The Changeling is one, I think it's on Prime. I haven't watched it, but it's already a few episodes in already. Now, there's some other ones like Creepshow season 4 is supposed to be going on, and Shining Veil, which I like the first season of that. Season 2 is supposed to be going on. Wolf Like Me season 2. I watched a little bit of part 1, and then I don't know. You was supposed to drop the last season of You, but I don't think that's happening now because of the strike. So some of these may not happen because of the strike. I'm not exactly sure, but they were kind of slated to happen. But that's not even all of them. I mean, that's a list right there, you know?
Yeah, that's a big list for horror shows. It is, don't you think?
It is. Yeah, there's just so much stuff, and you always have to pick and choose what to watch. The one that I'm really most excited about is the Fall of the House of Usher, and maybe John Carpenter's Suburban Screams. I don't know if I'll enjoy that, but I want to check it out to see.
At least see, yeah, for sure.
And I do enjoy Creepshow. I don't know if you watched any of the first 3 seasons.
Oh God, yeah, of course, of course.
I do love those as well, so that should be good as
I
well.
I do too, and that's the good thing about Creepshow is that you don't necessarily have to invest in the time because they're all their own individual stories. So
That's
I
true.
like that.
Yes.
If I'm like, hey, I'm going to go to bed in, like an hour, I don't want to watch a whole feature film. It's like the perfect thing to watch for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Well, speaking of watching, what have you been watching?
So I have a really short list, but
Okay.
so I want and this is a lot of my movies are ones that you've already watched and I had on my list. So Killer Book Club.
Yeah, what you think?
It was okay. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't the greatest thing I've ever seen.
It was the 90s, yo.
Yeah.
It was Scream.
Yes.
It's a Scream, baby.
So
Somebody should have said, I'm feeling a little woozy here.
I know. I couldn't help. I'm like, you mentioned it on the podcast, and I was like, dude, he pretty much fucking nailed it when he said that because you're so right. It is. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it either, but so I also watched Boxing Helena. So I didn't really like it. So
You didn't like it?
it was okay. My favorite part of that movie was the sex scene. And I was like, oh my God, that's kind of hot. But I guess I didn't like I was thinking all this was happening. It was like his dream.
Okay, so I thought that might have been the thing that threw you. You didn't like the ending. Yeah, I mean, you got to take that away to kind of really enjoy it. Yeah. I mean, that sort of play usually doesn't end well with a movie when it's all a dream. But spoiler alert. But yeah, I mean, I don't really think of that. If I did think of that, I'd be like, I saw for nothing kind of thing. So it isn't disappointing, but just the journey itself, I enjoy. I think it's good.
Yeah, because I was, and there's she gets run over her legs. Yeah, spoiler alert. And then she pisses him off or something, and she's sitting there, and I'm like, she doesn't have any arms. Oh my God, he cut her arms off, and him being the doctor. That was kind of cool up until the very end. You're right. That was the only thing. I was just like, oh man, it was a dream the whole time. That would have been so great if it was like really happening.
Yeah.
But
I assume that they got to a point where he's like, I don't know where I can go with this. Or she did. That's David Lynch's daughter. I was like, well,
yeah, right. So yeah, that was okay. There were some things I would change about it, but and it was really hard to find this movie. Like I looked everywhere, and I finally was able to stream it. So I'm glad I got to at least watch it. So another movie. So here's a funny thing. When you recommend movies, I always have a list. I usually just kind of put them in my phone, and sometimes my phone will do like a spell checker, and I'm like, oh my God, was that the name of the movie or not? So I can't remember what I had wrote down, but I was like, but it's not the name of a movie. It was Red something. And I think that I found it, which was Red State. Was that a movie?
Red State. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it's funny because I must have like typed a wrong letter or something in my phone, but I did finally figure, I was like, that has to be it. So that was kind of different. That was,
did you like it?
I did like it. I did. Yeah. There were some things I would change, like the pastor, when he was doing like his sermon, I was like, oh my God, this scene is going on way too long. And I get it. They were trying to help you to understand the character, and I totally get that. But when it first shows the guy that's tied up, I was like, oh my God, that's pretty fucking creepy. I thought, and the three boys that were going to screw this, old lady, I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. I thought it was kind of funny.
Well, it is made by Kevin Smith. So, I mean, I was always a huge Kevin Smith fan. So when I heard that he was doing a horror movie, I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. So when I first watched it, I was a little bit kind of disappointed because I don't know what I wanted. I think I wanted like slasher or something. I don't know what I was expecting, but upon repeat viewings, I actually love the movie. I think it's awesome, but I don't know what I was thinking, but I definitely didn't think it was going to be this sort of raw and sort of gritty, Yeah.
But, so Kevin Smith, tell me about some Kevin Smith previous work.
He did Clerks, Chasing Amy, Jay and Silent Bob, Dogma, stuff like that.
I did not realize it was the same person.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's So Red State, that was completely different from anything else he's done.
Completely different.
Well, good for him. Good for him. And the storyline was different, and I thought that was good. Like he's like, oh, it's like Craigslist or for whatever, I don't know, scrolling through the phone. I was like, this is kind of funny, but anyways, it was good. It was good. I did like it. There were some things I would change, but for the most part, I did enjoy it. I did a rewatch of a movie that I actually bought this movie. We were in Knoxville at Grindhouse Video, 976 Evil.
Oh yeah. That's Robert Englund.
Robert Englund, yeah. And I've always loved this movie. I loved it the first time I watched it, and it's funny. I did a little bit of research on it, and it has pretty bad reviews. Did you ever know that?
I mean, I didn't think it was very successful. I mean, it was successful enough to have a sequel, but it wasn't.
I didn't even know it had a sequel.
There is a sequel. Idea. Yeah, Robert's not involved, I don't think, at all. But yeah, there is a sequel. I didn't think it was. I knew that he only directed like a couple things, so I didn't figure it was probably that successful. Yeah.
Yeah, I love 976 Evil. I mean,
Yeah, it's a good movie.
obviously, like the 976, that would be like the number. Like, I guess I'm really going to show my age here. Remember, 976 was like where you'd call to like get the weather or
Yeah.
call and like listen to Hot Chicks or whatever. One of the 976 numbers. So
I did. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. But the movie itself, there's some weird little things in it. But the movie itself, I think the cast, the acting was so spot on. It's got some funny scenes in it. You got some comedy, some good kill scenes, and no, I really enjoyed the movie. So much that I actually bought it. So there's that. But yeah, that's all I have from on my list. I did do a rewatch earlier today of The Hills Have Eyes, but
Yes.
we can talk about that when we talk to Susan.
Yes, I rewatched that as well, so we'll talk about it. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got a little bit of a list here, not too much.
All right.
So rewatch of Megan. I watched a movie called Haunted from 1995. This one was a little hard to find too. It's a skeptical professor visits a remote British estate to debunk allegations of psychic phenomena, but soon finds himself haunted by a ghost of his own past. It's got Kate Beckinsale's in here.
Okay.
One of her earlier stuff. A little bit harder to find. Kind of a ghost story. It's rated R, but other than some brief nudity, it's mostly pretty tame. But it's a pretty good little ghost story. I liked it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I liked it. Probably not for everybody, but yeah, I enjoyed it.
Okay.
Up next was Natty Knox. Natty Knox. That's a new little indie horror film. It's got our old boy Bill Moseley in it. Danielle Harris is in it, and Robert Englund is in it for a little bit. This one was pretty.
Feel like I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it. So tell me about it.
Small town babysitter and the kid she is looking after struggle to survive a serial killer on Halloween Eve. It's kind of has its own little legend and lore about Natty Knox and stuff, and it's like her son and the revenge sort of thing. Pretty decent little horror film, little indie film. Bill Moseley's in it quite a bit. Robert Englund really mostly I would call it more like a cameo for him, but
yeah.
And Danielle Harris plays more like a mom role, but yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. I was entertained. It wasn't like amazing, but I liked it.
Okay.
Up next was a rewatch of the remake of I Spit on Your Grave. Did you like the remake?
I did like it.
Yeah, I actually enjoy it. I obviously I think the original is the best, but this one's pretty good. And you know, people probably condemn the original for all the voyeuristic stuff on the woman. This one really focuses on the revenge.
It does focus on the revenge 100%, and it's one of the things I love about it. I'm like, oh, so
they really get their comeuppance there. So yeah, I enjoy it. Up next was a new movie called The Elevator Game or Elevator Game.
Elevator Game. I'm not familiar with this one.
I believe this one's on Shudder. Supernatural horror based on an online phenomenon, a ritual conducted in an elevator, which players attempt to travel to another dimension using a set of rules that can be found online. It was decent. So
I was gonna say, like, just based off of what you just read, I'm like, yeah, it doesn't sound like something I would watch.
Yeah, I mean, it's what you would call a typical horror movie, I'd say.
Okay.
It pushes all those tropes. I mean, nothing new to write home about, really, but not terrible. Not like, oh my god, I wasted my time. I did talk about Chucky season 3 is coming out soon. I just finished season 2 of Chucky.
So I didn't know that you were watching that. I remember we talked about it when it first came out because I watched the first season of it and I liked it. I don't know why I didn't go back and watch more of it, but yeah. So is it just as good as the first season? I
mean, it's just getting wilder and wilder. It's like meta upon meta upon meta. Like it's way more meta than Scream would ever think to be. Like there's just so many layers here, because you have like Tiffany, Jennifer Tilly playing Tiffany in Jennifer Tilly's body. There's a lot of stuff going on. Okay, there's a lot of meta stuff here.
A lot of stories in the stories, and
well, it's just like, I mean, they're really jokes upon jokes from all the films put together, and then even again, they're real life characters, or the real life actors playing the characters, playing themselves. You know, so there's a lot going on. I enjoy it. It is what it is. I mean, yeah. I mean, if you like the first one, I think you should like it. Yeah, worth a watch. It's on Peacock. Up next, I'll watch the new movie, The Last Voyage of the Demeter. Have you heard about this one?
I don't think so.
It's the one about the ship, you know, where the Dracula's on it.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that was the name of it. Did you? So I thought when I saw the trailer for it, I thought it would be good.
I mean, it's pretty good. I mean, it's well shot and the acting is good and everything. I mean, I think some of the stuff is just kind of. The thing is like this is just a passage in the book of Dracula. If you ever read the book, so this is like a passage of it. And so it's very short, really, as far as like what's to be told about it. I think that, and the guy who directed this is the guy who directed what's that one? The Autopsy of Jane Doe.
Okay,
and I love that movie. I think
I love that movie too.
Fantastic, yeah. It's fantastic, and you know, so you got these one setting again, but it's just a different scenario. It doesn't work as well. I don't think it did as well in the box office, and I guess I can kind of see why, because it's not like it is kind of play by the numbers. I will tell you the ending kind of pissed me off.
Oh,
I didn't really like it. It went too Hollywood with the ending. I'm just like, it's like this is a story in a book, but you know how it is, but you want to switch it up, right? Why do you have to switch it? Why do you have to switch it up? Just do it.
Why do you take something so great and fuck it up, right?
Well, I mean, you know, if you expect the ride, but you're willing to go along the ride knowing what the ride is going to be, why not just make the ride instead of going, oh, let's do it like this? So there was that did kind of annoy me. But I mean, as far as like overall, I mean, it's pretty decent. It's just not a great movie, you know?
So that everything you're saying. So I've been thinking about this a lot with a lot of movies that I've been watching. And I wanted to talk to you about it. How the ending can so impact how you feel about the entire film.
Yeah. I mean, a good ending can save a film, and a bad ending can ruin a film.
Yeah, easy. I was thinking about that. I'm like, oh man, I never realized. Like, damn, you cannot fuck it up at the end because it can ruin your entire opinion about a movie. And there's some people out there, you know, they'll say, oh, you love horror movies. Well, did that movie have a good ending? I'm like, well, I guess it depends what you mean by a good ending. Well, did the bad guys die? I'm like, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a good ending, but it's funny how everybody has like different opinions, you know? Yeah, I was thinking about that. But I guess I started thinking about when I watched Boxing Helena, because I was like, oh my God, the ending, oh, you know?
Yeah. Stuff like that, though, you have to take the ending out to really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Which to me, that ending can be separated because it is kind of like a coda part. Like it's really not a part of the story. It's just like a aha moment, you know?
Yeah.
But if you could take it out and you still have a story, right? But with this, they had to change the story to a degree. It's like, come on.
Okay.
Don't do that. Up next was a little film called The Ones You Didn't Burn. It's a little indie film about a guy whose family was the people that were responsible for burning witches, but they didn't get them all.
Did you like it?
I thought it was okay. To be honest, I probably would need to watch it again to really, really remember a lot of it. So wouldn't say it was like one of those movies that stuck out in my mind. Like, oh my God, this is amazing. Up next was Crazy Fat Ethel.
I've never even heard of it, I don't think. So
well, I watched this because we have a guest coming up, and her name's Athena, and she's in this movie.
Okay.
So after years in a mental institution, Ethel is taken in by her aunt, Although many people, including the institution's head nurse and a local detective, believed that the discharging her was a huge mistake. It's a little indie film. Athena has a pretty good little part in here. We'll talk to her about it whenever we get her on.
Okay.
And everything. But yeah, it's a pretty decent little indie film. Up next was Blood Moon. Have you ever seen this movie?
Blood Moon. I feel like I have. Tell me what it's about, and I'll tell you if I've seen it.
Well, it came out in 1990. It's like right at the end of that 80s vibe. So he still has that look and feel of the slasher vibe. I want to say this is a British movie, and maybe it's just because they are British or playing British characters. Maybe it's not from. But anyway, a serial killer is on the loose at an all-girls school where he strangles girls with a piece of barbed wire. So you have a good weapon and everything, and it looks cool when you're killing people and everything. I liked it. It's a decent movie. I'll tell you, it's too long. It's an hour and 40 minutes. And it's just a little too long because there's I think some filler in there that could have probably been cut. But one of the I guess the big thing is, unlike most of these movies where they don't reveal the killer to the end, they actually reveal the killer midway through this movie.
Oh. So that's different.
Yeah, so they start off, and it is just like a typical slasher where you just see like kind of the hands, and you don't know who is doing what and whatever, But then they just reveal it in the middle. So it's a little interesting. I'm not sure if it's better that way, but it is different. Yeah, for sure. Worth a watch, though. Worth a watch. That's Blood Moon.
Blood Moon. Okay. I don't think it sounds so familiar to me, but I don't think I've actually seen it. So. All right. Blood Moon from 1990.
Up next was The Red Sin Tower.
The Red Sin Tower. Okay.
And this is another movie that Athena has a little small cameo in. And this is by Fred Vogel. If you know Fred Vogel, he's known for those August Underground movies.
Oh, okay. So was this extreme?
It wasn't as extreme as that. No, it has its moments. It does have its moments, but it's not as extreme as that at all. You'd be surprised, really. But I did enjoy it. I think it's a really good movie, honestly. It starts out like with typical teen stuff, and it's maybe a little slow to get going as far as like all the stuff. But the dialogue's pretty decent for a low budget movie, I thought overall, and it moves along pretty good. And then, so it's kind of like a mix of, say, like The Night of the Demons meets Evil Dead.
Oh, okay.
So it's different. It's definitely different than those other kind of movies. But honestly, well done. I liked it. I thought it was really good.
Okay, so that's the Red Sin Tower.
The Red Sin Tower. Yep.
Okay, got it.
Up next was a little movie that you didn't get to finish. That we'll talk about more in depthly when you do. But
it was long too. I'm just saying.
It is a long movie. There's two versions too. There's one that's 238, and I think the other one's like 244 or something like that. Melancholia der Angel, or The Angel's Melancholy. It's a German movie. So I won't say too much about it right now. But holy shit, this is a hardcore movie. I will say that.
Okay. So I don't think I watched enough of it for it to get
super hardcore.
Yeah, super hardcore. So the thing is, I think I started it way too late. I didn't realize it was as long as it was.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, I'm not gonna be able to stay awake for this one. So I was like, all right, I gotta circle back. I was like, Mike's gonna kick my ass, but
it definitely could have been trimmed down some for sure. Let's just say you get it all. You get it all.
Okay.
In this movie. And then some.
Okay. So that's different. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of like movies like that. I'm like, damn, it checked off all the damn boxes. So this checks off the boxes, all of them, and a couple more.
I'm not gonna say I liked it.
Okay. Oh shit. Okay.
I'm not gonna say I liked it. I endured it. I experienced it. It tries to be It's like a duality thing. It's trying to be two different things, you know. It's trying to be a little bit lofty, but it's trying to shock you at the same time. And sometimes those things counter out each other a little bit. But I didn't hate it, but we'll talk about it. We'll discuss more later on. Okay. Up next is a little movie called No One Will Save You. Dropped recently on Hulu. This is a little home invasion movie. The only twist being the home invasion. The girl is being invaded by aliens.
Okay, so that's different.
Yeah, a little twist there. Pretty good. I liked it. The aliens, they're not like little feeble creatures. They're like basically stalking her. Like, you know, they're trying to get her. So there's some good little scenes with her fighting off the aliens.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm good picture in my head. I was like, oh, they're gonna go in there and try to gangbang her.
Well, it doesn't go.
Not that extreme, right? not so hardcore.
It's on Hulu. It's not that extreme. Up next was a little 1987 movie called My Best Friend is a Vampire. Have you seen this one?
I think so. What year did you say that come out?
1987.
I didn't realize it was that old. Okay, I have seen it. God, it's been a long time. Shit, I think I was in high school, seriously, when I saw it last. So it's been a while. It's funny though, isn't it? Isn't it a comedy? Yeah,
it's a horror comedy. I mean, it's PG. You know, it's not heavy or anything, but it's about vampires and stuff. And then it's a fun little movie. I mean, you know, if you like that kind of stuff, if you're in the mood for that kind of stuff, you know. So
sometimes it's good to throw, like, we watch horror movies all, like you and I, we watch horror movies all the time. So sometimes it's fun to throw a horror comedy in there, you know, because it changes it up.
Yeah, exactly. And the last few things I did was the American Horror Story episode 1 of the new season. Like I talked about before, it Rosemary's Baby kind of vibes. I mean, you know, nothing substantial to make me go, this is going to be a good season so far. We'll see. And then, like you said, I rewatched The Hills Have Eyes as well. And we'll talk more about that here in a minute when we talk to our guest. You ready to bring her on?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Sounds good.
So tonight we have Susan Lanier. Susan is an actress, producer, writer, vocalist, and a musician, not to mention one of my favorite scream queens. Mostly famous for The Hills Have Eyes. Hey, Susan, how are you?
Good, girl. How you doing?
Good. I am so excited to have you on here. When your name was first mentioned to me, I was like, oh, hell yes. Gotta have Susan because you're so full of energy and you're just a fireball and absolutely love you. Amazing actress. And you've been busy you have so many projects going on, it seems like.
Actually, I am the busiest I've been in quite a few years, actually. I mean, I've always worked. I've always done a project or two. I'm an artist whose focus shifts frequently. Mm-hmm. And I go from art form to art form because I've done TV, film, music producing, writing songs, and as well as writing scripts in a book. And so I never get bored because I'm on some project or another, but acting wise, I've been quite busy recently, and I have 2 or 3 films lined up. So that after the strike, so I'm kind of busy and excited. Yeah, it's a good time.
Awesome. That's great. Hey, Susan, let's take it back a little bit. Let's go back to the beginning. What got you into art at all? Like, be it film or music? What happened first, and how did it come about?
Okay, so I'm not sure which happened first. My granddad from East Texas was not wealthy. He had a piano on his front porch, and as a little child, my mother would take us to visit her parents, and so he played the piano really wonderfully. Funky old blues, you know, downbeat kind of East Texas thing. And I was always fascinated with music. But by the age of 13, I was very clear I wanted to be an actor. I was walking through the park one day and I saw an audition and I asked if I could audition, and I got the lead, and then won a big award that summer in Dallas, Texas. And I had the bug, and it was like, I feel like so lucky that I knew what I wanted to do with both of those things very, very early in my age, because I meet a lot of kids right now they're 20 and they still don't know what they want to do. Well, I knew what I wanted to do at 13. And so without a doubt. And so it was like, then you can make plans and take classes and, gear your life to go in the direction you want it to go in if you start early. And I think that I was very blessed about that.
Yeah. That's awesome. So tell us about, I'm sorry, I have to ask about The Hills Have Eyes. Like how did you know what you were auditioning for? Tell us a little bit about it.
By the time I was asked to audition for The Hills Have, I actually wasn't, it really wasn't an audition with Wes Craven and Peter Locke, the producer. It was more of a meeting. They had seen my work on television. The casting directors also knew my work very, very well on television. I had also starred in a major play with Richard Chamberlain and Dorothy McGuire and Raymond Massey, Eleanor Parker at the Amundsen Theater here in LA in 1975 and 6. And so that's hard to get those kind of jobs. It's a big, big theater here in Los Angeles, and it's very prestigious. So I was in my very early 20s when I got that job. And so it opened a lot of doors for me. Initially when I moved here, I only wanted to do comedy or serious theater. I never in my wildest dreams thought I'd ever do a horror movie. But I'd done a lot of TV and I wanted to star in a movie. And so when I was offered that role, my agent was just furious. He said, "No, you're not going to do it. It's a horror movie. It'll ruin your career." And I just said, "Well, I am going to do it." And I love the role. And I had met Wes Craven. He was so cool and he was so nice. And I said, and I love the director and I want to work with him. So I did it. And I'm sure there's certain people that I lost maybe a little collateral with, because I did a horror movie. But The Hills Have Eyes ended up being a life-changing experience for me. So not only career-wise, but also personally. I met later I met my husband who had seen The Hills Have Eyes, and we connected from The Hills Have Eyes. So it was like, I would never have met him had I not been in The Hills Have Eyes, more than likely. And it was just kind of life-changing. And I'm still working off of The Hills Have Eyes.
Yeah. Do you work a lot of conventions, like horror conventions?
No, I turned them down.
Yeah.
Some, I do a few. I find them to be hard work, and it's very tedious. You've got to be sitting there for 2 days. I do love meeting fans, and I love my fans, but I don't really like the convention circuit that much. So I'm one of the ones who aren't always trying to hustle those. I'd be good with 2 a year, period. Just 2 a year. That would be fine for me, because you got to fly there and honestly, I'd rather be writing music or working on music than sitting in a chair for 2 days.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
I don't,
Yeah.
and I think, I think they're great for meeting your fans, but I think they already know who you are. I don't know. It's hard. I feel guilty about turning them down sometimes, but I'd rather be creating a new project than
Sure.
cashing in on the old stuff,
Yeah. 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 And that's all right. I think that's great. Good for you. And you're so busy too. It's probably hard to even just take 2 full days and put it to the side, to do those things.
Well, I was just in New York, working with my musical director, Carl Danielson, on a cabaret show I'm going to be putting up in New York. And that to me is really exciting. And I write a lot of music. I'm determined to have a new Christmas song out this year and recorded by Christmas. And I just, my thing is the creation of stuff, and I get bored sitting there all day long. Yeah. I know that probably sounds snotty, but I do. It's like I'm not a convention. I'm not wild about them. I'm supposed to do one for the new movie I did recently next weekend in LA, and the LA conventions are the least exciting because there's so many celebrities that go, and so the fans are just going from table to table to table to table, and there's not really time to have a connection with people.
Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that. And I didn't even know that you were a musician. I had no idea.
Yeah,
so
let's talk about that. What kind of music are you making, and do you tour? Do you put on shows? What do you do?
Yeah, like in the 70s, I sang backup for a few people. I always like to harmonize. I started writing songs without hardly any training when I was in high school, and they were horrible. They were just horrible songs. So, but I really enjoyed writing music. So my late husband wrote Superstar with Leon Russell, and he produced Eric Clapton's first album. And so when I was, he had a group that your audience might be familiar with, Delaney and Bonnie and Friends. And they were a wonderful rock group in the late 60s. And they were broken up by 1971. And I met him in 1977. And my whole life became not only about acting. He loved the fact that I acted, but, he was a musician till the day he passed away. And so he was producing everybody, Joe Cocker, Jimi Hendrix, George Harrison was on the scene. Everybody was at his house or our house, and later when I moved there. And so it was like a real scene that I've been in since the late 70s. So it actually is a little bit more exciting, and the people seem to be more grounded, if there is such thing. The music world is quite wonderful. My son is also a guitar player, and he plays with 45 Grave. And he was the lead guitarist for the Dickies for a while. So he's in music as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, nice. I don't have a traditional, my show's called Swamp, like Swampland, Cabaret. So it's sleazy. It's a little bit nasty. It's very bluesy and rock. And it's about my story. And it's more of a cabaret venue type of sound than I wouldn't say that it would be a great rock club, show. So I'm not, I don't consider myself a rock and roller, kind of somewhere between musical comedy and rock.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie, I love Swamp Cabaret. I was like, ooh, that sounds good.
I'm going to have a CD available on CD Baby or YouTube or whatever it's called that people can buy, and it's 15 songs of my show called Swamp Cabaret. And I also have a new EP that I haven't quite released yet called Allergic to Texas, and it's all bluesy. So I love doing both. And some of my music ends up in films.
Oh, that's fun. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So you've just finished up a couple of projects. So tell us about these movies that you just finished up.
Well, I'm excited about both of them, actually. I just finished one called Black Mass. That's directed by Devaney Penn. I don't know if you've interviewed her before. But
we haven't interviewed, but I know she is.
She's just she out of the blue called me and asked me if I'd like to do a role in Black Mass. And that explained she was directing it. And I had met her before. And I said, well, yeah, I'd love to do your movie. And I don't have a big part in that. I play a mom, a German mom. And that was nice because I had the challenge of being able to, it takes place in the 70s. And it's making the festival circuit right now. And I got to do a little German accent, and I've seen the footage, and I really am proud of what ended up in the film. Though it's not a huge part, I just like to work. And she just has really proved to me and to whoever's seeing the film that she probably is somebody who's going to be directing a lot. I really have a great deal of respect for her. And then I just finished a film called The Boatyard, and there marquees in Times Square saying coming soon, and there's marquees in Hollywood right now. And it was written by Rory Graham and directed by Dale Stelly. And I have a much bigger role in this one. And in the Black Mass, I play a very prudish mom. And in Boatyard, I play a mass evil bartender killer. And and just dirty and sleazy and whatever. And I love the fact that I have, footage playing both of those things, because I hate being, let's get Susan for the evil one, or let's get Susan for the PTA mom. No. And then I have a couple of as a matter of fact, we had our wrap party for the Boatyard this week and Thursday, and I think it might have legs. I you never know. I mean, when I did The Hills Have Eyes, I never knew if it was good, bad, not. I just was, I'm a typical actor, and actors just like to work. And so
when did you know that it blew up? At what point were you like, wow?
Probably about a year and a half later, after it was released. It was released, I think, in 1977. I did the tour with Peter and Wes, flying around to the openings when it opened. And I starred in it. So, I played Brenda, and I'm the star of it. So they asked me to do the tour, and I did. It's not my picture on the cover, so it has that picture of Michael Behrman that really makes it look like he is the movie. And he's a dear friend of mine. But I guess that was for sales purposes, and I suppose it worked. So, anyway, I think about a year and a half later, I began to get an idea that maybe The Hills Have Eyes would be a contender for a classic, but it was put into the Museum of Modern Art in New York on permanent collection. Now, I don't know if it's still there or anything about that, as the greatest terror, not horror, terror classic ever made.
Wow.
So when it got that award and was put on permanent collection, I thought, well, I didn't think of it as a terror classic, but I suppose it is. And I think then I knew that maybe it would have longevity, but I never thought it would have this long of longevity, because I have fans all the time everywhere that they just love that movie, and they play. And Halloween is my month. October becomes my month, because everybody loves The Hills Have Eyes because it is scary. And then they did the remake, and I saw that. I went to the opening, the red carpet opening, and I thought it had some nice highlights to it, but I think it lacked the rawness and the edginess of the first one. There were just too many special effects. With the original Hills Have Eyes, you can almost believe that could really happen.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's realistic.
But the remake, it had so many special effects. I know maybe I'm biased, but I felt like it was a little too,
No,
gimmicky.
it's definitely polished.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. For sure.
The Boatyard has that rawness that The Hills Have Eyes has. I think that and I was talking to the director on Thursday, Dale Stelly, and he said, I wish I had a budget where I could really put in a lot of special effects. I said, I'm so glad you didn't, because it's kind of raw, like The Hills Have Eyes, and maybe it will have that. Like I said, you never know, but you never know if a movie's going to make it or not, or how long it will have, any kind of prominence. You just never know.
Yeah, and the Boatyard. So it hasn't actually come out yet because y'all just finished. You just had the wrap party. So, but it's all that's great that it's already like out everywhere, coming soon. That's awesome. So there's a lot of hype. Is there a teaser trailer?
I think they have a fairly nice, PR advertising budget. So, I mean, to get a billboard in Times Square, I
was going to say that's a pretty big deal. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there a teaser trailer for it yet?
Uh-huh. There is.
Okay. All right.
On Instagram, and it's Instagram, the Boatyard movie.
Okay.
There's a trailer. There's a trailer on there, and I look quite different in the trailer than I do today.
I love your look though, and it's when I first looked at your IMDb, my first thought was like, oh my God, she looks like a Brigitte Bardot. I love it. I love your look. It looks so great. So you play in the Boatyard. You're like the killer, so you got a completely different look. But that's great though. That's
ratty hair and a motorcycle jacket, and just I'm just mean as hell. So
that's awesome.
It's fun. Life as an actor is a lot of fun. It's also hard work and a lot of rejection, a lot of disappointment. And you just have to learn to let it roll off. And I think I was at an advantage with all that because of the music. Like if I didn't get something or I was rejected in some way, because everybody gets rejected, your biggest stars have been turned down for roles. I just go into my studio and write music, and I don't even think about it. I can go into the thing about music is you have total control over it. You can finish a song, go pay money and have it produced, or maybe a label will have it produced, but you have control over your product. And I believe that the way technology is developing will have that same sort of control, more so, at least for low budget projects, with the accessibility of technology the way it is. I teach acting on film sometimes, and what I emphasize, you've got to go shoot yourself. You've got to set up that camera and watch yourself and shoot tiny vignettes. They can be little seconds of things, but the accessibility of technology was never as exciting as it is right now. And before, it was a whole audition process, and then you go to the director and producer and they have to okay you. Now you can kind of work if you want to, if you have an iPhone, acting.
Yeah. Technology has come along. We were talking to, we had Carl York several weeks back, and he was saying back when he did Cannibal Holocaust, he was like, it was really luck. He said, I just so happened to have been home that day and answered my phone, and it was his agent. He's like, if I wasn't home, we didn't have cell phones back then. I was like, yeah, so technology it really come a long way. You're right.
I did the pilot for Three's Company, and I had just come out of the desert. I had the Suzanne Summers part, Chrissy, and I had just come out of the desert from The Hills Have Eyes. There were no groceries in the house, so I had gone, and there was no cell phone or anything like that. I went to the grocery store in Studio City, and it's called the Market Basket. And I was buying groceries. I had sand in my hair, no makeup on. I looked like hell. And I heard over the loudspeaker, Susan Lanier, come to the office. Susan Lanier, come to the office. I went, is that me? Oh, God. And it was my agent. He said, get over to ABC. You're going to test for Three's Company. And I went, I can't. I'm dirty. I've got sand in my hair. I look like shit. And he goes, get over, put your groceries down, get over to ABC right now. So he was able to page me in the grocery store. Oh my gosh. I mean, things have changed so much.
That is so crazy. That's a fun story, though. Susan Lanier.
And what was that?
Report to the office.
What was that like, Three's Company? And also, welcome back, Kotter, and all these other things. Happy Days.
Yeah.
All these things that you did.
All of them were great experiences. Three's Company, probably the least, because, you know, it was one of those things where my agent had negotiated because there was another girl doing the role and she wasn't working out. And I'd lost in the middle of rehearsal, they let her go and they replaced her with me. And I lost 5 or 6 days of rehearsal. So I only had about 3 days to learn all of the lines and do the show in front of a live audience 2 times. And because they were so desperate, my agent had him over a barrel and he really negotiated a lot of money. And that didn't set so well after the pilot sold. And for whatever reason, maybe they preferred, you know, I mean, I thought Suzanne did a great job. And but that was one of my show business disappointments. You know, I have to be honest about it. I really wanted to do that series. And then later, you know, it didn't work out for her either. And so I went on to do some really prestigious theater in New York. And I feel like maybe everything happens for a reason, you know, and you have to kind of just believe that, you know, or you're not suited for this business, because that's a biggie. That's a big loss, you know, and I can rationalize it all I want, that it wasn't such a big deal, but that was a big loss, and it hurt your feelings, you know, but that's okay. I mean, and I loved Henry Winkler playing on Happy Days. I love Henry Winkler. He is the nicest man in show business. And I saw him recently at the Hollywood Celebrity Convention, and they were having a Happy Days sort of reunion thing. And it was so good to see him. And he was the first date I had in LA when I moved here in 1975. And he was just as sweet as he could possibly be. And it was just great seeing him. And I'm friends with all of them. I was friends with Gary Marshall until he passed away. And then Travolta and I are just about the only ones left out of the Kotter crowd. Larry Hilton Jacobs is still around, and I celebrated 4th of July with him about 5 years ago. So we're, you know, we all kind of, it's a small, you know, it seems and sounds so huge, but Hollywood is kind of a small town in its own group, you know, in its own way. I'm not in the new circle of whatever, you know, but of our generation, we were all pretty tight.
See that, though. I could see that for sure. So tell us about like your experience on a film set, because a lot of people, like from an outsiders, they don't realize it's because it looks like acting and being in movies, it looks so glamorous, but it is a lot of work and a lot of waiting.
First of all, it's very, very physical. You know, I've been, you know, bruised or injured probably on every set I've ever worked on, including the Boatyard, which I just finished. And at this age, because I have to be stabbed and crawl on this dirty floor. And it's like, the guy kind of stabbed me too hard, and I went, hey, wait, dude, you can't do that, you got to fake it. And yeah, it's set up, it's supposed to look easy, and it's supposed to look glamorous. A lot of people think it's easy and glamorous, and I think I'll go be an actor. They have no idea. A lot of it is waiting in your trailer for your time, and you're just sitting there and you're waiting. I did one of the days on Boatyard, I had a 6 a.m. call or something, and we broke it at 10 at night or something, and I didn't say one word. They never got to my scene. They had to put me for the day, but I'm sitting there all day in makeup ready to go, and we never got to the scene. So that happens a lot. So it's sitting and waiting. And so I always take my work, on my computer so that I can work on my book or whatever I'm working on to fill that time. And then once you're on the set and doing the scenes over and over and over and over again, and you do the master shot, and then you come in for medium shots and over the shoulder shots, and then your close up, and all those things have to be done over and over and over again, and they all have to match up. So it's not just saying the lines that you have to get right, it's matching the action that you have to get right over and over and over again, so that it looks like one take, and that very rarely happens. So it's hard work. It's really hard. It's very physical.
Yeah. Have you ever been talking about that? I've watched behind the scenes, and when they have to wear a lot of makeup or get in these suits, and it just takes hours and hours and hours and hours. Have you ever had to do anything like that?
No, yeah. It's long enough. I think the most tedious one was when I did Days of Our Lives, because you walk in, you go to one chair, and then they just take you and put you in another chair, and they put you in another chair, and and dress you, and you're kind of they have a nicely oiled machine there. It's down to a fine art, the technical part of it, because they have to move so fast. But I have not had to wear anything that would take hours and hours to do. Thank goodness. I would do it if the price was right, but I haven't had to do that. No.
Yeah. I think that would be very difficult for me, because I'm always wanting to move around and do things. That would be really hard for me to sit there that long. But even when I do cosplay, and I've learned how to do my own makeup, and it takes me just to do my makeup myself. Sometimes takes me a good 2 hours. So when you're having it professionally done in the whole bodysuit, they're like, yeah, my makeup took 8 hours. And then I was tired before we even started filming. I think that would be so difficult.
Yeah, that's challenging sometimes when you have to, get there really early and just be on the set really early. And I'm not an early riser. I'm a night crawler from nightclubs and nightlife. And so it's really difficult to get up early.
That's me too.
Yeah. It's all of us.
Yeah, it is all of us.
But we do what we have to do. And I'm kind of used to that. I did a horror TV series that was shot during COVID, produced by Brooke Lewis Bellis, who is known in the horror world as Miss Vampy. And she is an amazing producer. And I did that. She made it into a series, but we shot it during COVID, and when nobody was working, when all the studios were shut down tight because there was no vaccine yet. That was before the vaccine. And it was directed by Joshua Butler. And they came up with the idea of doing a horror series in our own homes. And so nobody got together. And so it was kind of written, a lot of improv. And, one day was the director and me, and the director and David Alpay plays one of the roles, and Robert Blake's son Noah Blake is in it, and different people. There were about 5 or 6 of us, and Brooke. And so one day, I have my phone, or he has his phone, and I'm showing him locations in my house that would work for the scene, right? And then I had to light it, and then chain myself up, and and so I had to do everything, and it was really, really challenging. And then he shot it on Skype, and it ended up being a little series. It's on some network. I'm not sure, maybe Tubi. I'm not sure. But anyway, it's kind of interesting that we were able to do. That was what I was talking about earlier, is that you can now have the capability to create your own series or your own vehicles. You don't have to wait for the studio or casting director to call you in. Go make films.
So you just filmed it yourself then? You filmed it to yourself and sent to him. So everybody was filming their own little part, right?
Well, he filmed it on Skype. And,
okay.
And then most of it was creative. It's called Red Rooms, and everything's red kind of. And he created it he really made it work in post. It wouldn't have worked had he not been a really good post editor or gotten whoever he got to edit it, because he knew what he was doing technically. But he actually filmed it on Skype, and it turned out okay. I mean, it's a little fuzzy, but
So I saw that earlier. I think it is on Tubi, Red Rooms. I remember seeing that. So now that I know that, I've got to go back and watch it for sure. For sure.
Most of it was improvised, because he had, I think, all of it really. It wasn't scripted. So
did it have anything at all to do with a virus or quarantine or anything along those lines at all?
It didn't have anything to do with a virus, but it did have to do with an evil presence. And and they came up with it and wrote it. And Brooke and I have done different projects together. We did a comedy called Stripped together, and we're just really good friends. And I have deep respect for her knowledge of show business. If I have a biz question, she's the first phone call I make. She knows everything about show business, much more than I do. But she's a real go-getter. I mean, she knows how to get stuff done. I'm more of an artistic nature, and I can do the work, but I'm not a go-getter or a hustler. She can really get stuff made. And that was interesting.
So together, y'all are like the perfect team then.
Yeah. I mean, she was in my music video that I did with Michael Berryman on a song I wrote with Ron Finn. And the song is called Watch What You Ask For. You Just Might Get It. So it's a music video. Michael Berryman wanted to be in it, and I adore him. And then Brooke said, well, I want to be in it. I said, all right, let's just everybody be in it. And I wrote it, and it's to the music, but I did direct that and produce it. So anyway, that's on YouTube under Susan Lanier Bramlett. I'm also known as, I'm Susan Lanier from The Hills Have Eyes, but I'm also known as Susan Lanier Bramlett when I do music. And so it's a little confusing. So I'm mostly just Susan Lanier these days. But if you're looking for music videos, it's under Suze Lanier Bramlett. When I segued in the 80s from acting to music, I really just wanted it to be like Suze. So anyway, so I did a lot of music under that name.
Oh, okay, that's awesome.
Well, Susan, you've done some other horror films now. You did like Cut and Area 51 and stuff like that. I know you said originally you weren't looking to do horror movies. Have you grown to like horror movies? Is that something you kind of do look to do now?
Again, I like to work. And so because I have a fan base in horror, I'm asked to do more horror. I do have a script that is a comedy that is very much kind of like Barbie, maybe,
Okay.
that I if once the strike is over and it looks like it's just about to end, and it gets greenlit, I think I have a really interesting role in that, and it's a comedy. What my I really love comedy the most, but I'm lucky to be, I've been in this business a long, long time. And so anything I get, I'm lucky to have. And I understand that, a lot of people that have been in the business as long as I have don't remember lines anymore, or they're retired or whatever. And I'm not there yet. So, I'm grateful that I'm just working. So if I get offered horror and I like the role, I'm going to do it. I love the role of Martha in the Boatyard. I mean, she's just awful. So, I do like playing the bad guy a lot.
That's awesome. And so most of your movies, it's horror and comedy, from what I can tell. So you said you love comedy. Do you like, for personally, do you like horror movies personally?
No, I won't watch them.
You won't watch them?
No, when I did No Solicitors with Eric Roberts, it was directed by John Callis, and I went to the screening of it. It was a red carpet opening in Santa Monica, and I went by myself, and I shouldn't have, but I did. I went by myself, and after we walked the red carpet and said hello to everybody, and then the movie started, I went, I cannot watch this.
You can't watch it.
It's just too weird. And I left because it was disturbing. And I like to write horror movies, but and I have I've pitched a couple of projects that I've written, and that's different. But watching them, I really get absorbed into the story, And no, but I love comedy. Comedy just lightens the world. One of my first jobs in Hollywood was doing stand-up on the Tony Orlando and Dawn show, teamed up with George Carlin. And that was a really big deal. And he taught me a lot about comedy. So
yeah, he was amazing.
He was amazing. And so I've been really lucky to work with some amazing people.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's great.
One of the things that comes to mind, I guest starred on Barnaby Jones, and I worked with the great late Pat Hingle. And he was the guest star and I was co-star or something, I don't know. And it was one of my very first shows, and he goes, "You're from the theater, aren't you?" And I went, "Yeah, I am." And he goes, "All right, come to my dressing room. I've got to teach you some things." And about film acting, movement with your body, and asking for a sandbag, which is a bag of sand which you put on your mark so you don't have to look down. So your toes hit the sandbag and you don't go over the line. A lot of actors don't know to do stuff like that, And so I was really lucky. Pat Hingle was one of the, in his day, was extremely famous. And for him to care enough to say, "Okay, this is how you do it, ask for a sandbag, don't be shy," just little things that I would never have thought of coming from a theater background.
Yeah, because it's different. You would think it would be the same, but it is different, right?
Totally different. Totally different. Yeah.
So what do you like better? Do you have a preference? Do you like theater, or?
If you had asked me this question 5 years ago,
yeah,
I would have said maybe theater.
Yeah.
But and I love doing my cabaret show, and I love doing music. But nowadays I really prefer film, because you do it, it's over with. I just got back from New York, where I was thinking of getting involved in a project. I just didn't want to be in Manhattan that long. And so I'm a real LA girl now. I used to be a Manhattan girl. But it's a real time commitment. So at my age, some days you just go, oh, I've got a cold, or I've got my knee hurts. I don't want to be stuck having to do a play night after night after night, 8 performances a week, night after night after night, not feeling perfect, And I have done that. I've been sick on stage a million times when I was younger, but it's harder. It's a little harder as a more mature actor to be able to pull off a really brilliant performance. It's not that hard to do on film because okay, I just got to get through today, or this week or this month, and it'll be over. It's not 8 performances a week of the same thing. But I mean, that's not to say if I was offered a great play, I'd turn it down. I wouldn't, but my preference is film.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that though. I could see that. I would get probably bored if I had to do the same thing every single night. So I could see that. Yeah,
well,
for sure.
I don't think I've ever gotten bored doing it because you always have this rush of energy from the audience, but you get that from your audience. But I love filmmaking. I think people are much more interested in going to see film because they can watch it from their living room now than to get in their car, pay $200 or $300 for a theater ticket, be squashed on Broadway. They have not changed the setup of the seats on Broadway in many, many years. And people were a little smaller in those years, and the seats are tiny. So if you are worried about something like, say, COVID or catching a cold or something, all these people are just bunched in together. The seats are not comfortable. And so it's like those, I'm talking about really just Broadway. The Pantages and some of the theaters here in LA are much more well-planned and spacious. But it's fun to just say, hey, I think I'm going to go see a movie tonight. And you pay $20 and you go see a film, and now all the theaters have these cushy lounge chairs and, you can have cocktails even or dinner while you watch a movie. I don't know. I think that's more fun these days.
Yeah. Even though you can like watch everything from home, I still love going to the movie theater and just getting that experience. I just love that.
Yeah. I went and saw Barbie. That was the last movie I saw, but I really feel like I should be going to the theaters more to support them so they don't just peter out,
Mm-hmm. What's a good play that you've seen recently? Have you seen anything recently that you liked?
Play? No. I mean, I just saw Barbie. I'm trying to think what was the last play I saw. Oh, I saw David Dean Buttrell do a one-man show in New York last Monday of this week. So I just flew back from New York. So that was really good. That was in Pangea Cabaret, where I would like to do my show. But he has a one-man show, and I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, if you're in New York, go. It's worth the price of the ticket. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Awesome. Did you like the Barbie movie? I'm just curious. Did you like it?
I loved it.
I haven't seen it.
I thought it was brilliant. And I love the message that, and I love the special effects. I thought it was brilliant. And could easily win the Academy Award this year.
Oh, okay. You took your girls to see that, right, Mike?
Yeah. Yeah. My girls.
Did they like it?
They did. They're younger, so they didn't get all the message and stuff. But yeah, they like it.
It's very pink.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta like pink.
Yeah.
It's like a thing. You put on all the pink, and then you go see the movie.
It's very, very pink.
So wait, tell me this. I'm dying to ask. So out of all the roles that you played, do you have a favorite character that you played?
I think if I was to pick one that I'm known for and that I am proud of, probably Bambi in Welcome Back, Kotter. That was a memorable role. I love starring in The Hills Have Eyes as Brenda. So it's kind of a tie between those two. And those two are the ones I'm most known for.
Yeah. Yeah. And I watched I did a rewatch of The Hills Have Eyes earlier today.
So did I.
Did you? That is
Mhm.
so awesome. I was like, oh my God, I love your character. Is it Brenda, right? Brenda's your character. I was like, oh, she's like so cute and fun. She was really great. And I actually, you know what, between the original and the remake, I by far the original.
Yeah.
Love the original. It was really great.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
One of the things that came to mind when I was watching it is, what about the elements? Now you're filming out in the desert and stuff. We've heard about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and how their elements really made that film because it was so hot and everything. What about your experiences?
Well, it was the same. And prior to The Hills Have Eyes, I had my own dressing room, my own makeup artist. On TV,
Mhm.
I had gotten established enough that, my agent could ask for certain amenities that were lovely. And I went into The Hills Have Eyes knowing they were on a very limited budget. I wasn't aware that I wouldn't have my own dressing room. We were all men, women, Dee Wallace, me, we were all in the same dressing room, trailer out in the hot sun of Victorville, California. And the elements were rough. And I really did. When I came off of that, it took a month to shoot it. And I was bruised from head to toe. I mean, I was one solid bruise from being dragged in the desert floor. At night, it was cold. And, like I said, acting is very physical. You're not just selling the words, but your body has to take on also the characteristics of the character you're playing. And then the circumstances, like being stabbed and climbing on the floor a few weeks ago, in the Boatyard, I was like going, oh, this really hurts, So you have to be pretty prepared for the physical challenges of it.
Yeah. You are right. You are so right when you say that, because almost every time I've done acting, I'll come home with like big bruises on my legs, and it is crazy. It really is physical. It looks so glamorous and fun, but it's a lot of work. And yes, you do get little bruises and bumps from it. It's my first feature film, I was hit in the head with a glass bottle, and it was like a sugar bottle, and they only had 4 of them. And the second one they didn't realize it was a little thick. So when I get hit in the head with it, but like when you're filming, you kind of got the adrenaline rush. And I didn't realize that I thought at the end when we were in breaks, and I was like, oh, there's blood. And I really had blood like it. And I had a big goose egg on my forehead. I was like, that is so crazy. I thought it was fake blood. I didn't even really feel it when it happened, but I was like, I really got clocked in the head with a big goose egg on my head. It's crazy.
Totally. I mean, the one story that I haven't repeated too many times about The Hills Have Eyes is Virginia Vincent, who played my mother. They didn't have they scrimped on the budget for the stunt supervisor. And so she gets shot in that little trailer, and they hadn't had the experience to tell her to make sure you wear a bra. And she did not have on a bra. And so when she gets shot in the abdomen, she falls over from the sound and the squib that goes off that had been planted under her nightgown. And it actually injured her breast. So when she fell over, it injured her breast, and may she rest in peace. And that was her last day of filming. We had to fake her for the rest of the shoot because she had to go to the hospital. So that, you also, I tell all of my acting students that I teach you also have to stand up for yourself. And, don't be intimidated on the set. If somebody asks you to do something and you could get hurt, or you feel like you could get hurt, or it doesn't feel safe, you better speak up. Don't be intimidated, because nothing is worth getting injured, really injured. I don't mind a bruise or two, and I'll go. But, like on the Boatyard, the guy was really method actor, Jamal, and he, grabs me, and I'm fragile at this age, I'm not as sturdy as I was when I was 20. And so it kind of hurt. I said, dude, no, you can't grab me like that you got to stand up for yourself.
Yeah, good for you. Yeah, he might not even realized it. He
certainly didn't do it on purpose. It was totally accidental. And he was just into the character and doing what his character was supposed to do, but he got a little bit too enthusiastic with it. So
I'm sure those things like happen all the time.
I'm sure every day,
Yeah.
That's
do you have any like fun, crazy stories of anything like fun that's happened like behind the scenes?
Oh God, probably so many. It's
anyone that just kind of comes off the top of your head.
Oh, I'm trying to think. I did a pilot with Greg Malavy that I starred in called Wilder and Wilder. And Meredith McRae was my sister. That was a fun, a lot of antics on that set doing that pilot. I've done a lot of pilots that never took off. People don't realize how many pilots in the old days, not so many now, but in the old days, pilots were made right and left, and they didn't pick up half of them, and you'd get all excited about, having your show picked up, and then you're always let down when it's not. And so no, I mean, I've done a lot of work nobody will ever see because it was just a pilot, Right.
So Susan, it has been so awesome talking to you. I could sit here and we could sit here and talk to you all night. Yeah. So if your fans wanted to like find you out there, are you on social media anywhere?
I am, and both names are on different sites. So I'm on Instagram, Susan Lanier, actor. Facebook, Susan Lanier Bramlett, Susan Lanier. I mean, if you type in my name on Google, all those mediums will come up. X, Twitter, I guess they call it. I don't do much tweeting or threads too much, but Instagram and Twitter, I'm there. And you can look at my new stuff coming up on IMDb under Susan Lanier. And also my music's available on YouTube, and my music videos on YouTube, and CDs are for sale too on, whatever, CD Baby and all those platforms. So yeah.
And then you say you had a book? Then you say you had a book?
It's not finished.
Oh, it's not finished.
I can't promote it. I can't promote it until it's finished. It's very dark. And it's a memoir, but only 6 months of my life. And it was way before I moved to LA. And it's about a murder and that really happened. And it's pretty dark and funny and entertaining, I think. But I just have to finish it. Time, every day there's something, and I go, oh God, I don't have time to write. Writing is the hardest of all of them, I think.
Yeah, I would think so. So that'll give us something to look forward to then. Is your book coming out?
Maybe I can come back when the book's finished. I think
yes,
that's well. Yeah,
so that'd be awesome. And check it. And so we're gonna check out the Boatyard movie on Instagram, and that's where we can see the trailer. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And look out for Black Mass, and then I think I'm doing another one. I don't know. I'm doing a couple more. One in November, one in January. So just keep checking it out, and I love the fans to see the work. So Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Do you have anything else for Mike?
I think that's all. We really appreciate you coming on. I mean, obviously we love the movie Hills Have Eyes, and a lot of the other stuff that you've done, and looking forward to all the new stuff. So
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Awesome. All right.
All right. I'll talk to you guys.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Maybe
Take
after the
care.
Boatyard comes out.
All right.
We'll see
Bye.
what happens. Bye.
Bye.
Susan Lanier. Wow, man, fantastic,
What?
huh?
Oh my gosh, I so enjoy talking with her.
I
She
do too.
is
Yeah.
so fun, full of energy, and her experience. Like, wow. I mean, she's been doing films for God a long, and she's amazing, amazing. One thing that I didn't mention while we were talking to her is that when I first looked up her IMDb, when it's telling all the things, she's an actress, producer, all the things, the very first thing that it says is multi-talented, sassy actress. I was like, damn, IMDb done calls her a sassy actress. I was like, that is so gnarly.
Yeah.
It's just so fun. She was so fun to talk to, and I really enjoyed speaking with her.
Yeah. And what great experiences, like, to be on Happy Days. I mean, like, my earliest memories of films is Happy Days and Welcome Back, Kotter, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So what fun memories to have that experience of doing those kind of shows, and so many other things. I mean, her IMDb is very impressive. So. And still getting out there and doing a lot of projects. It's awesome. So
yeah, and she's like, I love to work, and so it sounds like she's always want to stay busy, and
Yeah.
I love it how she did explain, like the behind the scenes, and there's a lot of our guests don't talk about those things. They're like,
Right.
yes, I was in a movie and I did this and this and this, and but
Right.
she like took it a whole step further. So I really enjoyed speaking with her about that.
Yeah, same. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, it was a good episode. You have anything else for me?
Man, I don't think I have anything else.
Okay. All right. Well, we're about to jump into the holiday season in full force here. With October coming up, we got all kinds of stuff. There's conventions, there's horror movies everywhere. There's haunted houses. There's all this stuff going on. So there's horror in your face 24/7, right?
24/7. It's less than a week away. So to me, it's like not really any different than any other time of the year.
Right.
But
Same, right.
but you see it so much more out there. Do you have any big plans for the month of October? Anything crazy?
Not really big. Of course, I do a big Halloween sale on my movies every Halloween. I've been doing this since I've been making physical copies. Every year we do a Halloween sale, and it's kind of our biggest sort of sale of the year. And so that's the heaviest promotion. So I'm going to be doing that pretty heavily. I'm working on a couple of titles for Blu-ray. They're not my movies, but I did help on them. So those are going to be probably coming out before Halloween. And we'll talk more about those when they do. And stuff like that. I don't really do the haunted houses anymore just because I used to, but I really haven't done those in a while. But, I will go watch, because I know that they're showing The Thing locally here. I'm going to probably go watch that, and a lot of other horror movies that they're going to show, like older horror movies that they're going to show at the theater.
Yeah, that I do love. So it's funny because I'm not really big on haunts myself.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone automatically assumes, oh my God, Brigitte loves horror stuff, so she loves haunted houses. No, not really. I think I like walking through haunted house. Like I like seeing the props and
that's what I do.
different.
That's what I like. I like the props. I like to see people that are creative with their costumes that you don't necessarily see. Sometimes they have just really cool sets and stuff. So I love all that. That stuff is very fun. But that sort of stuff. And then of course I do want to check out. I will go to the theater and watch The Exorcist. Probably Saw too. And see if I like those. But
Yeah.
What about you? You got anything?
The only big thing that I have planned, and this just kind of come up this past week. So I just started a new job, and they're based out of Orlando, and so they're gonna fly me to Orlando for 3 days for training. And I was like, So I'll just book my own flight because I'm going to stay through the weekend because I really want to go to Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, man, this is the perfect opportunity. I'm like, I'm already going to be in Orlando. I might as well just stay through the weekend. Just check that off my list. It looks to me, it looks like it's like just a bunch of haunted houses, but I'm like, it's Universal Studios, so they probably take it a complete step further. So I'm definitely going to check that out for sure. So
yeah, I know there's a Chucky one, and there's the Exorcist, and there's quite a few things. Yeah. So
I'll talk about that. So I'm going the first weekend in October. Actually, I mean, like 2 weeks. So
coming up. Yeah.
Coming up, yeah. So I'm sure I'll have lots to talk about.
All right, very cool. Sounds good. Well, until next time, stay hardcore.
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 Oh my gosh! Can I do that? Hardcore. Hey, that was pretty good, wasn't it?
Close enough. That's close enough. There you go. Well, all right. Until next time.
Till next time.
Later.
Later.
Wow. That's hardcore.
Nothing harder.
Hardcore Horror with Mike and Brigitte is a part of the Tennessee Horror Podcast Network.